Okay, so it is August the 20th at 5:04 p.m. and I'm calling this meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Castillo. Ms. Balin. I think you're on mute.
Yes.
Ms. Giselle.
Yes.
Ms. Grayling.
Yes.
Mr. Charnett.
Present.
Chairperson Klein.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Okay, sorry, I had my microphone on. All right, I am told before the meeting began that there are no requests for public comment. Is that still true? Okay, so no.
You want to read the little spiel about?
Okay, this meeting is being held virtually via live stream. Public comment will be accepted up until 15 minutes before the start of the meeting. Written public comment must be emailed to publiccomment@citybloom.org, and those wishing to speak live must register at the City of Bloomington website that's listed, so citybloom.org/register prior to the meeting. But seeing as we have none, we can go forward in our agenda to the consideration of the minutes. Does anyone have any comments or concerns about the minutes?
Yes, I do. Georgine.
Do it. Tell us.
All right. Third page of the minutes, paragraph 3, second sentence to the end, it says the scope work includes. Should that be the scope of the work, or how's that?
Yeah, this should be the scope of work. What page? Can you tell me again the page?
Page 3.
Page 3. Okay.
Minutes. 1, 2, 3 paragraphs down. Second sentence to the right.
Yeah, the scope of work. You're right. Okay. Anything else?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay, good. Keep going.
Okay. Okay, Sherry. All right, and then
I'm
on
waiting.
page 4, second paragraph, it's the third sentence. It says O or M mortar to be used in place on. Should that be of?
Correct.
Yep.
Okay. My schooling is paying off. All right, fourth page, second paragraph from the bottom.
Yep.
That is totally googly gop. I don't know. It's like it says, I think Mr. V, I don't know how to pronounce that.
Varicella, probably.
Stated the entrances are existing. Should that be stated?
I think that's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you see that? Okay.
And I believe that's all I have right now.
Sherry.
Okay, and on that.
Oh, no, it was one more, but go ahead, Sherry.
On that one line, that after we have the stated business, will not be below the canopy line.
Canopy.
Spelled
Yeah,
C-A-N-O-P.
canopy. Right. Right. Mhm.
All right, and then on to page 5.
Right.
Which was basically a redundancy, because for the restoration award for the David Davis Barn and Stable, it mentions Chairperson Klein motioned, or the first one was just doesn't make sense because it motioned to, and so the second said Chairperson Klein made a motion to award the David Davis Barn and Stable.
An editing error, probably
So
copy and paste error.
Yeah, so a redundant and gobbledygook. So just take that off, the first one out. And let's see, the final one that I got was on page 6.
Yes.
Where that is the last statement where it says Chairperson Klein indicated 2 additional items she wanted to add. Number 1, the commission is in need of A members. Okay, well, of members, but specifically an attorney.
So 2 in there. So member singular and becomes an.
There you
Right.
go. Yeah.
There we go. That's it for me.
Thank you, Sherry, because I forgot though. I had them marked and I just didn't turn the page.
Thank you, Georgine. We make a good team.
Make it a good
Then-
Yes,
team.
ma'am.
I would make a motion to approve as amended.
I will second that. Do we need to do a roll call for that? Yes, everything will be the roll call. Okay, so
Mr. Charnett?
Yes.
Ms. Balin?
Yes.
Ms. Giselle?
Yes.
Chairperson, Ms. Grayling?
Yes.
Chairperson Klein?
yes. Okay. So as you will see, our regular agenda, do I need to read that part? Okay, so our regular agenda includes only the BHP 2819. At this point, we have received a request from one of the petitioners to continue this until next month. I assume for preparation of materials. So we don't have anything new and we need to do a continuance. Do we need to vote on that? Okay, so let's just, for the sake of clarity and make sure it's all done
I'm
correctly,
in
let's
a
have
meeting with the city, a Zoom meeting.
yeah. So we just need to have a vote
I'll be done in
to
about 10 minutes.
transfer this to next month's. Okay,
An
so
appointment with her.
Oh,
I'll make
So
the
we-
motion.
We need a motion
Not
that
Zoom.
we continue this case
Anne,
What's that?
to,
This is the chair that's available.
to next month.
Okay,
And
I'm sorry. I'm a commissioner on this committee. I can't pull away from it.
Anne, okay, that's all right. So I make a motion. Sherry, did you second it?
Yeah, but yes,
Sure, okay.
you could make the motion, or if I had to do it or whatever.
Oh, you
But
do it, fine.
But anyway, yes, that we
Sherry
continue,
makes the motion.
that we continue case BHP 2819 to the next month.
September,
Yes, so it will be the September meeting.
right. Anybody want to second that?
I will second that.
Okay, let's have a roll call, please.
Okay, so this is a motion to continue BHP 2819 to September 17th.
Okay,
Leah, can you mute your mic? Ms. Grayling,
Yes.
Mr. Charnett?
Yes.
Ms. Balin,
Yes.
Ms. Giselle,
yes.
Chairperson Klein?
yes. All right, so we'll move on to other business, which was to complete our discussion of Heritage Award nominations and the ceremony. If you recall, last meeting, we did not have any photographs to supplement the application of 212 North Roosevelt Avenue, which was submitted to honor for adaptive reuse. And this is the come together space. And you can see that in your packet, they have now included some photography so you can see the space. So again, just to read from the application, adaptive reuse is changing the use of a structure to meet contemporary needs in a manner that retains or restores its viability while respecting the original design character.
I have a question. It's in pretty bad shape, but I guess we're not looking at that. We're just looking at the reuse, right?
Right.
Okay.
It doesn't look like this group has done much in terms of renovation of the building. They're just making
Right.
use of the building
Right.
in a creative way, I guess.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think they keep it in decent repair as in functionality, but they haven't done a lot to do any dress up to it so that it makes it look, like they've really done super
Done
duper
something. Right.
attending to that, but yeah. It's a nice space. I've seen several things in there. So they've done shows before.
I've never been inside. I guess I gotta go take a tour.
I mean, I kind of agree with the initial response, which is that the building itself isn't something exciting or dynamic, and they haven't done much to it on the exterior, but they are keeping it in use,
Yes,
and it's not further dilapidating, and they're using it for something
right.
pretty original,
Yeah.
So in that sense, I feel that is they're meeting I think the spirit of the award, even
Yeah,
if it's not a
yeah,
multi-million-dollar project or anything like that, right? It's a
right,
pretty
Right.
community-driven, artist-driven, low-cost
yeah,
Right.
adaptation.
They're
okay,
using an existing building rather than going up, trying to put up another building or whatever. So they're using, I mean, this is great that this building won't be taken apart, and thrown away in the landfill. Somebody's making good use of it. So, yeah, I'm sure it's a cheap piece of property too, to like keep going, because it's, you're not having to do a lot to it to keep it at least usable.
yeah, I'm reading the definition for adaptive reuse, changing the use of the structure, okay, to meet contemporary needs, which is true,
Yeah,
in a manner that retains or restores its, okay, so I get it. All right, relative, okay, I got it. All right, I vote for it.
Obviously, I need a motion of some sort.
Oh, I motion, what are we doing here? I motion that what are we doing?
we are,
Accepting?
we've decided to present the award for adaptive reuse
Okay,
to this particular structure.
okay,
So,
So you're
which
making
is,
a motion to,
which is 212 North Roosevelt Avenue. So, yes, we
do you
are,
so move, Georgine?
I so move.
Okay,
and I second.
okay. So let's have a roll call on this, please.
Ms. Giselle,
Yes,
Ms. Grayling,
Yes,
Ms. Balin,
Yes.
Mr. Charnett,
Abstain.
Chairperson Klein,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, so now what's left on our agenda is to talk about how we want to do a ceremony, or how to present the awards. And then I guess staff has some updates on the cost of different forms of recognition.
Yeah, I reached out to the Town of Normal and the Old House Society as well, and both are planning on doing an in-person ceremony next year. They're kind of postponing their awards this year. So that is, I think I owed you that update. And then also, we looked at yard signs. I got some quotes from, we were just recently working on another project that involved yard signs. And so they came out to about $4 a piece, roughly. So I don't know if we would want to get some printed and just kind of generic ones that we could use multiple, over the years, or what we want to do with those.
If we got a sign, would it say something generic like winner of, what do we call the general quality, like Historic Preservation Award or Bloomington Heritage Award?
we called it Heritage Awards, I think.
So
Yeah,
would you, I mean, could we make some like generic ones?
yeah. So City
That
of
could be.
Bloomington Heritage Award winner, or this year's, and then
Yeah,
every
this
year.
year's kind of
This
eliminates the
year.
requirement to redo the dates, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I think we could do something like that. I think if we buy 50, it's a little bit higher. If we buy 100, then it's like $4 a sign, roughly. So
How big are these?
just your 2 square feet, yard sign, standard political sign size.
are we also gonna put it in the newspaper?
Yes, we'll do a press release as well. I can work with Chairperson Klein on that. And we can have, if you'd like, we can, let me check with the clerk, actually. I'm not sure how we're doing recognitions at city council meetings, if we're doing those right now with COVID-19. But I'll check on that.
Okay.
So these are 2020 awards,
Right.
and we're quickly running out of months of 2020. Thank God. So the question is this something that we should, push? Can we get the signs done quickly? I mean, also signs become less awesome in the winter, in December. So is this something you think we can turn around pretty quickly?
Yeah, I don't think it'll take too long once we get them done and get them designed and send them in to have them printed. It shouldn't take too long to make.
We only have 3, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah. Okay. So let's try to push, see if the city will do recognition. Again, there are only 3 of them. Do the recognition quickly and get the signs out as quick as we can.
Right.
Because, yeah. I've learned from political signs that once it starts snowing, you really can't see what's on them. so yeah, getting it out before the winter comes is a good idea.
Yeah. They tend to deteriorate quickly too, and they start to, morph.
The wind takes them different directions. Yeah.
The derecho.
One of mine this past winter made its own little snowdrift in the yards. So it became an issue. Yeah. So, okay. Well, thank you guys. So we'll do the paper, we'll get them signs for their yards, and we'll talk about the city doing some kind of verbal recognition at least. And then, did anybody have anything else on the Heritage Awards?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Does anybody have any other new business that they would like to bring up?
All I had was a question about what we were doing before when we had the State Farm building, which we postponed and stuff. But we have this resolution recommending da-da-da-da. I noticed that there was a divergence of dates on that. It was going to be adopted this 19th day of March and approved this 19th day of November, assuming that would have been today. So
What page is that, on the beginning, or?
it was like, this was supposed to have been, I would have thought, approved if this had been on the 19th day of August instead of
Oh, I
November.
see. Mm-hmm.
So that's wrong.
You see that? Yeah.
So
We
I
can
guess
address that. We can adapt
make
it.
certain that when we do finally get to the point where we are ready to let it go, that we have the right date.
Yeah, no, for sure.
That's
We
not
can change
important.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Once we have information
Back at me.
from the commission about, the actual history of the building, the features and stuff, we can include that in the resolution too. So this one, just disregard this one in the packet. It's obsolete and it's a draft.
Okay.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Sorry if I'm cutting somebody off. I was also going to move on and just say that last month, when we talked about the REST grant for BHP 0920, Mr. Varicella did follow up with me, and we have been able to work on getting that coping cap just right. And actually, the coping cap itself is not visible from the street. There's a small bit of brick cornice that is. And so we're going to have to cover up just a little bit to make the metal work. There's just not another way to do it really in an effective way. That's still going to prevent water ingress from the rest of the wall. But we have come up with a solution, and he's moving forward with it.
Thank you for the update on that. Appreciate that very much. I know there's been a lot of kind of community questioning and activity about the work on Front Street because when they first took off the original, I guess, siding, they had some glazed brick underneath. So some people were sending me messages like, are they going to save the glazed brick? I'm like, well, the glazed brick is in such bad condition and it's not original to the structure. So it didn't look like it was original to the structure based on the historic photos. So
yeah, so Greg Coos actually contacted me about some of that and indicated that some of the that glazed brick was not original to the building. However, it does add to the historic character. The original is not really the front facade that's there in any form or material. But there's a later renovation circa 1900, I want to say. That building is, I think, 1857 was the original. And then that change is what's sort of left over there. However, yeah, I think you're exactly right that the brick was not in usable condition where it would be anything we could really try to salvage in an appropriate way. Having said that, I don't know that the opening needs to be enclosed again or to go back to the 1857 sort of thing. So that conversation I would leave up to whoever would like to talk about that. But I think that it is what it is. We've already approved. We've moved forward with anything.
Well, this is something to talk about and to bring to city staff is that, currently we're going through this review process with the Lakota group. And this is not the first time in my experience here on the commission where once approved construction had begun, something else was discovered underneath cladding or underneath, so it might be worthwhile to ask Lakota group to look into how we could frame something in our documents that says that this is, like provisional approval based on, no new discoveries or something like that, because it would have been, I think, important or nice for us to have the opportunity to make that decision collectively and not have to say, well, we approved it. But I mean, what if they took it off and they found something, if it had been perfectly in working order, colorful glazed bricks from 1900, we might have wanted them to stop, but we would not have had the option to do that at that time. So it might be something to consider in our new guiding documents that there is some workaround should we find, if they take cladding off and they discover something amazing, that they have to come back and discuss that issue. Because there's some things you just can't know until construction starts, right?
Yeah, and I am in very much agreement with you. There's actually some good AIA language that can be used for something like that. For instance, if there are other artifacts that are buried within walls, sometimes you find old newspapers, you find all kinds of little things as you start opening things up, and it creates a whole new appreciation or a whole new challenge. AIA, for instance, has specific language in there if you uncover human remains. That's probably a big one.
Yeah.
There are
I would hope the police would also have some rules about that.
Right. But there are also some things in there if you uncover some artifacts, an old clay pot or arrowheads or something as you're working in some of these sites, that it can change how you proceed and you have to kind of get a few more people involved. And that might be something that there's just another potential for review. But I think the biggest question is, who does that initial inspection or that initial conversation fall on? So what I mean to say is, okay, so we open up the wall. Is it the contractor's responsibility? Is the owner's responsibility to tell somebody there's something different here than what we expected? Or is it the city's responsibility?
I mean, that's something to talk about, but my sense would be that from a city's perspective, it's who we're giving the money to and who we gave the approval to. And the approval goes to the homeowner, the building owner, not to the contractor, right? But will the homeowner know enough to say that this is an appropriate or an inappropriate change? Well, that might have to just be something that's made clear in the certificate of appropriateness, or any approval documents that in the event that anything is discovered, it's required to come back. And maybe we can talk about this language, but maybe it could be they don't have to come back to the whole commission, but a subcommittee of the commission has to review it. And if they deem it serious enough that needs to come back, then okay. But if they don't deem it serious enough, then it could just go forward. That way you could provide a stopgap to quickly deal with something. And so the contractor's not waiting forever. But it's something to ask the Lakota group. We can't possibly be the only people who have had this issue. So maybe they have some kind of contextual. Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because, as you know, you got contacted, I got contacted about what was being discovered, and and it generated some conversation online about what they were discovering. So I think it would be smart for us to respond to that by at least attempting to make allowance for that in our policies. It's too bad it wasn't perfectly nice glazed brick. But you can see what Illinois winter does to glazed brick. Yeah.
The piece that it does reinforce for me, though, is that the appropriate material for that probably is not stucco.
But for the continuity with their other building, that's what they, yeah, I mean, but that would have been a discussion I think I would have liked to have had as a commission rather than feel pinned in because we'd already made a decision based on the evidence that we did have.
Well, it's for the funding, right? So it's not like we can really say you can't do it to your building, but from a funding standpoint,
Yeah.
that's really all this is about. So,
But it's not an
Yeah.
insubstantial amount of funding. So,
well, I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. But I'm just saying, I think that there could definitely be some conversations in the future about how we approve that funding, that there's, that these
Mhm.
materials have to be consistent with, or in the discovery process, the city has to know, send some sort of photo, send some sort of something that is indicating what is found or whatever. But yes, I think you're right. And I think there's some language, there's some way to achieve that. And I think Lakota Group would do well to examine that.
Yeah.
And we need to have that little bit of potential. I know that it's onerous a little bit to a property owner when they're dealing with some of these commercial buildings and some of those things. At the same time, we don't want that value destroyed. You get one shot at it.
And if we try by having a subcommission, a subcommittee or something that's showing some effort to try to speed up the process. Yeah. And I think, Katie and I were talking, there was an issue recently with the Demolition Grove group. And I think another thing that we can think about in these new documents is that if we get a demolition permit from any of the historic districts in the city, that no matter the condition of the building, that should come to the commission rather than just be signed off by me and, following the regulations. But that could be a default. I mean, I can commit as chair to always do that, to say, no, I want to go to the commission, but I think it would be smart in our bylaws or our rules that any building, any structure in a historic district should by default be brought to the commission. So in case there's a new chair at one point who, because these things don't come along very often. So you could forget from one person to the next, there's 3 people in between. So that's just something to think about in terms of the rules. Okay, does anybody have anything else new? I know everybody's kind of.
I guess the one thing I would ask is, since you mentioned it, what is the deal with that house on Mill Street?
I can only tell you what I know, and that is that they sought the permission to demolish in the
Right.
appropriate way,
Right.
but it was during the COVID lockdown, so there were some expedited processes. So, but because it wasn't, there was nothing you could see to make it stop. It just went forward, I guess. And so this is just a way to ensure that it's at least discussed openly. Doesn't mean we would change our decision.
Right.
But yeah, so I think what happened from my perspective is that it happened during this lockdown. And so there were certain administrative expediencies that happened. And I signed off on it, of course, based on the city recommendation, but I think we could have been more deliberative about it. And so I take ownership of that part of it, but it was also kind of procedurally sped along. So it's what we can do now is not set a precedent so that doesn't happen again.
Right. So what you're saying basically is that it was a victim of circumstance.
It slipped through in this sense. I'm not sure that the decision could have been any different, but it would at least have not happened what felt like kind of in the dead of night. It kind of felt like it didn't the neighborhood didn't get its due. And I think there's also the idea that it turned into a parking lot that became
That's the thing. It
the
sounds
issue.
like from the
But that's
discussion-
not something that I knew and that we knew, right?
Yeah.
That the homeowner doesn't have to tell you what
right.
they're going to do with it, right?
Right.
So, but if we had gone through a broader discovery process, we might have been able to
Mhm.
see that, because there may be a case that, I mean, we have that steam plant situation, right? There might be a time when like that's just gonna have to get demolished because it's fallen over or something like that.
Mhm.
Now, what happens to that space may change people's mind about what to do with it, right? So, but that has to come out in a kind of hearing rather than just a
Well,
form process.
the thing I understood about the thing on Mill was that it was a well-maintained home and now it's going to be gone instead of, oh, it was sad and awful and, now let's just, push it over and.
But a well-maintained home that did not have a significant architect, did not have
Right.
so is it historic or is it just nice
Yeah.
and older? Yeah, that's the argument that you have to
Yeah.
discuss.
And
So,
I'm learning I'm doing a current research project because I live in a Pillsbury house and I've been going back through where the Pillsbury houses were, and I mean were,
Mhm.
and there are many of the bungalows that he did that are now gone that were in the very close around the city center there. And so, fortunately, ours and a bunch of other ones are farther out. And so they've survived. But I'm sure a lot of those that were original to Pillsbury, that were bungalows, small houses, ended up being gone so that we would have the parking that we have now for the Law Justice Center and others.
okay. Yeah.
So those were the streets that he had them on.
Yeah. So I think, we have to look at the Lakota group's engagement with us as an opportunity
Mhm.
to give ourselves a broader
Yes.
array of options and things like that. I think this is I'm sorry that this happened, but I think it's good that it happened. If it was going to happen, that it happened when it did. So we're kind of in a space of being able to make adjustments.
Yeah, I agree.
So
Put
let's-
something else together so that we have a little bit more that we can do.
because
And-
it may not be, it may be 60 years before something like this comes up again, but it at least will be in the documents,
Mhm.
that it can be a guiding principle. So,
Yeah.
so
Thank you for
of course.
answering that, because I was just kind of like, I got this thing sent to me originally from Brad and he was like, and I'm like, oh God, yes. And
Yeah. Does anybody have any other new business, or is everybody ready to relax? Okay. Well, then, seeing none, I will hereby adjourn this meeting 5:36 on August the 20th. Thank you, everybody.
okay, bye.
Good
Everybody take
everybody.
care.